Find somewhere comfortable. A chair, a bed, a quiet corner where the day has already begun to feel far away. You don't need to follow any of this closely. You don't need to hold on to anything that's said. The words will come, and they will go. And somewhere in that gentle passing, you may find yourself drifting. That is exactly as it should be. Tonight we are going to spend some time with something that happens to all of us. Every night, without effort, without instruction, the sleeping mind begins to move. Images arrive. Feelings rise and fall. Strange landscapes appear. Familiar faces behave in unfamiliar ways. And then morning comes, and almost all of it dissolves like frost on a window. We tend not to think too much about where those images came from, or what they were doing there. Tonight, gently, we will. There is no rush. We have all the time we need. Just let the words settle around you, the way a blanket settles when you pull it close. We begin softly. There is something quietly remarkable in the idea that while you sleep, something inside you is still working. Not the restless, effortful kind of working that the day asks of you. Something older than that. Slower, more patient. Something that does not announce itself, does not ask for your attention, and does not wait for your permission. Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist who spent most of his long life thinking carefully about the hidden layers of the mind, believed that this something had a purpose, a gentle, ancient purpose. He called it compensation. The idea is simple enough and worth sitting with for a moment. During the day, we are pulled in particular directions. We present a version of ourselves to the world. We suppress certain feelings, perhaps without even noticing. We lean heavily toward the rational, the practical, the socially acceptable. And as we do all of this, certain things, quieter things, softer things, are left in the shadows, not lost, just waiting. And then night comes, and the dreaming mind, according to Jung, begins its patient work of rebalancing. The dream, he believed, is the psyche's way of restoring what has been neglected, a natural correction, like a river finding its level. Breathe. If you spent the day feeling rigid, perhaps in control to the point of rigidity, the dream may offer you something loose and wandering and strange. If you have been cold and efficient, the dream may bring warmth or grief or some old tenderness you had set aside. If you have been inflating your sense of yourself, telling yourself quietly that everything is fine, the dream may gently, without any cruelty, show you something different. Jung wrote that the general function of dreams is to re-establish our psychological equilibrium, not to punish us, not to frighten us, to restore us, to complete, in the night, what the day has left unfinished. He described the dream as a spontaneous self-portrait of the unconscious, a portrait painted not with words or arguments, but with images, with symbols, with scenes that carry feeling the way a piece of music carries feeling. Not as a message to be decoded, but as an experience to be received. There is something interesting in the fact that this portrait is painted entirely without our instruction. We do not choose the symbols. We do not select the characters. They arrive on their own, out of some vast and quiet reservoir that Jung believed we all share. Not just individually, but collectively. A deep inheritance of images and stories that belong to the whole of humanity. He called it the collective unconscious. Let that settle. The symbols that appear in dreams, he noticed, were often not personal at all. were not only personal, they echoed across cultures, across centuries, across people who had never met and never would. The image of a great river, a figure of an old wise person, a descent into underground places, a journey through darkness towards some distant light. These images appear in ancient myths, in children's drawings, in the dreams of people who have never read a word of mythology and could not say where the images came from. They come, Jung believed, from somewhere deep and shared, from the oldest part of what we are. You may have drifted. That's fine. Now, within this gentle theory of dreaming as balance, there is one particular idea that feels especially worth resting with tonight. It is the idea that the dream is not hiding anything. This is where Jung quietly parted ways with Freud, his older colleague and early mentor. Freud believed that dreams concealed, that beneath the strange imagery, the seemingly nonsensical scenes, there was a latent content, a hidden meaning disguised by the dreaming mind to protect the sleeper from something difficult. The dream, in Freud's view, was a kind of coded message, and the work of analysis was to break the code. Jung looked at the same dreams and saw something different. He believed the dream does not distort, it does not lie, it does not construct a facade behind which the true meaning is hiding. The dream simply speaks a different language, a language of images rather than words, of feeling rather than argument. And if that language seems obscure, that is not because the dream is being evasive. It is because consciousness, our waking, daylight consciousness, has simply grown unfamiliar with that older way of speaking. The dream, Jung said, is entirely what it is. There is something deeply restful in that idea. The dream is not a puzzle to be solved. It is an experience to be had, a natural unfolding, the same way a season unfolds, or a slow tide moves, just the sound of the words. Jung also noticed that dreams rarely come as isolated events. They come in series. Night after night, the dreaming mind returns to certain themes, certain images, certain unresolved places, as if something patient is circling, returning again and again, not with urgency, but with the quiet persistence of water finding its way through stone. He believed we are, in a sense, always dreaming. That even in waking life, beneath the noise of conscious thought, the dream continues. It is simply that the daylight drowns it out, and so the night becomes a kind of listening, a moment when the deeper current of the mind rises to the surface, briefly visible, before sinking again. Among the symbols that appear in dreams, Jung was particularly drawn to what he called archetypes. These are not images you learn. They are images you carry. Patterns so old and so widely shared that they seem to be built into the structure of the human imagination itself. The wise elder, the shadow figure, that part of ourselves we would rather not see. The anima, which for a man might appear as a mysterious feminine presence, guiding him deeper into the unconscious. The animus, which for a woman might appear as a commanding male voice, representing perhaps a kind of internal authority. These figures arrive in dreams not to threaten, but to show something, to carry a message from the deep. The shadow is perhaps the most quietly important of these. It is the part of the personality that does not match the image we have constructed of ourselves. The things we dislike, the impulses we suppress, the qualities we have decided do not belong to us. In waking life, we tend to project these qualities onto others. We recognize in people around us the things we cannot bear to recognize in ourselves. But in dreams, the shadow may appear directly. A dark figure, a threatening stranger, someone or something we feel the need to run from. And yet Jung's insight was that the act of turning toward these figures, of not fleeing them, of simply being with them, was where something important happened. Not a confrontation, a meeting, a slow integration. We continue softly. The dream, then, is not a warning system, though it can warn. It is not a prophecy, though certain dreams feel strangely ahead of their time. It is more like a companion that walks alongside you through the night, one that knows the whole of you, not just the parts you have chosen to show the world, but the forgotten parts, the tender parts, the parts that need a little more room than the day allows. Jung called the deeper process that dreams serve individuation, a long, slow movement toward wholeness. Not perfection, wholeness, the gradual drawn in of the parts of the self that have been set aside, one quiet night at a time. There is something ancient in that idea, the sense that we are, through sleep, through the unhurried work of the dreaming mind, always becoming, not urgently, not dramatically, but gently, steadily, the way a tree grows, adding a ring each year, without effort, without fanfare, quietly expanding. And so tonight, if images come while you rest, let them come without judgment. Let the strange figures do what they have come to do. Let the dreamscape be what it is. You need not understand it. You need not hold on to it. The deeper part of you already knows what it is for. Just drift. The mind has been doing this work for as long as there have been minds to do it. Long before anyone had words for the unconscious. Long before any theory was written. Before Freud or Jung, or any of the careful thinkers who tried to map this territory. The dreaming mind was already there. Already at its patient work. Already balancing and restoring and quietly completing what the day had left unfinished. You are part of something very old tonight. Something vast and slow and gentle. Something that does not need your help. Something that simply needs you to be still. Let that settle. And be still. And so we leave it there. The dreaming mind will take over now. In its own time. In its own way. There is nothing more to understand tonight. Nothing to hold. Nothing to carry forward. The day is already somewhere behind you. Growing quieter. Growing more distant. The way a shore grows distant when a boat moves slowly out to sea. Whatever was unfinished today, it can wait. The part of you that knows how to balance, how to restore, how to bring things gently back to center, that part does not sleep. It will do its work, unhurried in the deep hours ahead. There is nothing required of you now. Just this. Just the slow settling. Just the breath. Drift now, if you're ready. Sleep well.